welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I don't know about me, but I know that you are excited for the International Dota 2 Championships.
Yes, now the biggest prize pool in esports history, which it has done year on year, which is exciting for the players, and they get a nice lump sum payment, even if they come a bit further down. They don't have to come first to earn millions of dollars, which is fantastic.
Yes, and it turns out that if you release digital skins and stuff for Dota, people will respond quite happily, quite financially.
Yes, they certainly will. And of course, Valve has been tied up in these CSGO gambling sites and all this sort of thing. And Dota is sort of affected as well, because they did have similar things that you could gamble skins on esports rather than having it like a lotto, like they did with Counter-Strike.
And yet, I think there's one Dota 2 site that was implicated by the cease and desist orders from Valve. So it's a case of, like, considering you're betting Dota costumes, Dota shirts, it's almost literally betting the shirt off your back.
Almost. But I think it's probably the lesser of the things when it comes to gambling with items. But aside from that, I'm very excited for the International. The wildcard stages start on the 2nd of August with the grand final being on the 13th of August. I've already taken work off. I'm excited. I'm going to see Na'Vi plays very well. They've played very well at Star Ladder.
Who would have thought that after last year's performance that Na'Vi would be a force to be reckoned with this year?
Yes, they always have been. They've just had some bad months. That's it.
Meanwhile, Team Secret.
Yeah, we'll see. They'll probably do much better this time around.
Yeah. Who are you tipping, though, to win this year?
It has to be Liquid or OG. Very strong candidates. I don't think Na'Vi can beat them, unfortunately. But, so in the episode, we do have a look at the 25th anniversary of Sonic.
We also have Jack Crinji back for another look at the gaming industry.
But first up, let's go into our first segment.
A few weeks ago now, Pokemon Go was released to server outages mostly, but inadvertently it took the world by storm. Well, Australia, New Zealand and the US by storm at least.
The mechanics are clever. They encourage social activity, which is really important. One of Nintendo's design philosophies is they want products that encourage people to be social outside of online spaces. They want people to get up and meet people, and that's exactly what Pokemon Go does.
Getting up and meeting people, for many within and even outside of the core gaming community, isn't as simple as it sounds, and for some, Pokemon Go is beginning to show a positive shift in the mental health of players. Is that a zoom out? Jennifer Hazel from Checkpoint, an initiative to connect mental health with games and technology, has, within research studies, explored the psychological benefits of video games.
People who experience social anxiety or people who experience symptoms of depression and they find it very hard to get out of the house, become motivated, they can find a sense of community and socializing in these online apps. So anecdotally, that's what we've seen from our data so far. They take a lot of that community and it actually fulfills a sense of their well-being.
Pokemon Go is only one example of a game bringing positive change to players. Stories from people of all walks of life are out there, where games like Fallout and Mass Effect and World of Warcraft provide an out for those that lose themselves to the world with a narrative that these games have to offer. The end result can be anything from relieving social anxiety to losing friendships, but game developers don't often have these outcomes in mind when working hard at a project.
There's a lot of companies out there that are using gaming devices, which is the whole gamification thing, to better service software and things that are actually fighting and preventing mental health or helping helping people with it and whatnot.
One game that was developed with specific outcomes in mind was Orb, a collaboration between mental health organisation Reach Out Australia and production company Soap Creative. Lee Richards, director of games production at Soap, was able to tell me more about the process of developing a game like Orb.
Normally we look at, we develop prototypes and things, and the way the game feels, you'll quickly figure out if it's got a hook or not. But how we started with making something like Orb was how we want you to feel from playing it rather than how the game feels itself, which is quite different because we needed you to feel like a positive outcome. We need to communicate certain core things based on psychology, really specific objectives and techniques that we had to use, like 3 good things, character scenarios, a whole bunch of stuff which Reach Out brought to us because they were parts of positive psychology.
That concept of bringing mental health into a games and pop culture space is slowly growing at events like Melbourne's PAX, Sydney's GX, and Adelaide's AVCon. Liam Essler, co-director of GX Australia, brought up the evolution of the goals of the convention from its inception to its first running in February earlier this year, citing the mental health element being quite pervasive in the event's vision statement, with one of the bigger results being the 2010 Campfire Room.
Jennifer Hazel and Jane Cox were like, hey, we would love to help you with this. And so we brought on 2010 and made that happen. And then we've got panels and booths about mental health. And you know, that was something that evolved over time, but was a really natural fit and has since become kind of integral to the story and the goals.
And other rooms like the AFK room at PAX and the ReachOut room at AVCon have seen positive effects on both event attendees and professionals within the mental health space.
Everybody's very individual in the way that they use the room. So we've had some people come in, sit by themselves, put on a set of headphones and just disconnect and be in their own world, which is great. And then some other people who are interested in having a chat, they want to come up and find out what the room's about, or they want to explore and talk about the resources that we provide, and we're happy to go either way. So people are warmly receiving at the moment and kind of getting what they need.
Many others within games media and development have spoken out about making other events and even gaming culture more broadly more accepting. EB Expo stands to be one of the events within the gaming and pop culture calendar in Australia to gain the most from a mental health presence. Ray Johnson, journalist for Gizmodo and Triple J, discussed briefly some of the differences in how EB Expo is run next to GX and PAX.
EB Expo is still very much a consumer kind of sales-driven event. I don't think that we're probably going to see much community sort of focus from that event.
Even with that atmosphere in mind, Jennifer was quick to bring up the benefits of having those support networks readily available at events like EB Expo.
I think that sort of room setup would be beneficial at all conventions, video game, anime and otherwise, particularly if they're conventions that involve congregations of lots of young people. Young people shoulder the burden of the majority of mental illness, so it's really important to use these spaces to communicate our message that it's okay to talk about mental health, and I think that you can apply that blanket to all conventions in Australia and everywhere else as well.
Looking forward, the presence of mental health is set to grow not only within the games we play as both narrative devices and as tools to assist in healthy mental cognition, but as a support network at gaming events and wider gaming culture, and both are only going to be good things for gamers.
Heard of CSGO skins betting and the recent scandal surrounding it when two YouTubers, Syndicate and T Martin, promoted the lottery website CSGO Lotto on their YouTube page without disclosing the fact that they owned and operated it. This and a couple of lawsuits for illegal gambling caused Valve to finally take action and issue a cease and desist against these skins betting websites. Some of them have been gone down, some of them remain defined and are still up. As for CSGO Lotto, well, it might as well be a GeoCities webpage with an under construction GIF. Let's throw a dancing baby on there for good measure. But skins betting is only one side of the pervasiveness that is video games gambling. The other is legitimate betting. Here in Australia, online betting is illegal, and everyone tried to go in so quickly that they didn't even bother coming up with different names. We have Crown Bet, Sports Bet, Centre Bet, the Betty Ford Clinic, and the poorly named Free to Bet. I may have made a couple of those ones up. A lot of these are offering odds on esports, and normally I'd say all power to them, but I don't feel like they're entering this field with the cleanest of intentions. And they also just happen to be entering a field that is rife with issues. I've spoken previously of the Adderall doping amongst esports community, but there is also the issue of match fixing. In 2013, Dota player Solo was found to have bet against his own team. And here's the kicker, by doing this, he made $322. Not $322,000, just straight up Earth dollars. That is enough, by the way, to buy 4 hummingbird feeding masks, which you need to hide from the embarrassment of throwing a game over $322. And just this year, World StarCraft champion Life was found to have thrown a pair of matches last year, earning 70 million Korean won in the process. I don't even need to tell you how many hummingbird masks you can buy for that money.
He just puts down 2 gas and goes for Stargate pretty fast. And I think Life has actually no idea.
Now, I'm not saying that every match is rigged. These instances are still rare. However, they are a lot more common than I'd like them to be. But despite this, betting agencies are still climbing over themselves to make a quick buck out of esports. Just look at William Hill. They are advertising heavily on Twitch, and on their own webpage, they have a whole page dedicated to esports. However, you could almost make a competitive sport out of spotting the factual errors on this page. And go! Players come together and compete in tournaments such as the World Cyber Games. The World Cyber Games dissolved in 2014. Games are normally played in a MOBA. The most prominent games are Dota 2. Even Dota will admit that it isn't the most prominent MOBA. StarCraft is another popular MOBA. StarCraft is a MOBA. Yes, the real-time strategy title StarCraft 2 is a MOBA. Because according to William Hill, this League of Legends team is exactly the same as this StarCraft team. This shows that these betting agencies don't care about esports, they just see us as a demographic, as a mark, as a potential lifetime customer. Because let's face it, the majority of esports audience are young adults and teenagers. And all the evidence shows that young adults are particularly vulnerable to gambling problems, with teenagers 4 times more likely to develop gambling problems than adults. Betting agency Sportsbet has said that it goes to great lengths to ensure that minors don't see its ads. And yet, the Friday night telecast of Sportsbet and Tom Waterhouse ads is often rudely interrupted by games of football. It is easy to see these ads everywhere. It's even easier to sign up. Hell, this Sonic doll managed to sign up for a betting account. That Sonic doll is now $5,000 in debt. They're gonna break its hands or paws or whatever you call them. The normalization of gambling is distressing. No one wants to see young adults or even Sonic dolls throw their lives away into the world of problem gambling. And yet, these betting agencies are not helping by being everywhere, by peddling their wares into every facet of our lives, our football, our esports. And it's clear they don't care either. I'm not saying that you shouldn't bet on esports. I'm just saying that you should at least choose a company that knows the difference between an RTS and a MOBA. And that is everything that has happened in the world ever.
So Shane, you know I love One Piece.
Yep.
There's been some good games, but not great games for the One Piece universe.
Yeah.
And more so for J-Stars. J-Stars is even more hit and miss, where you have the fantastic
3DS games
and DS games, and then you have J-Stars Victory.
It was just a bad action game. It was Spike Chunsoft's first, I guess, array into that area, and they just were trying to, I guess, go with a Naruto style, or like almost melding it with more fighting games.
I think they wanted to take all the characters from the J-Stars universe, meld them into a fighter, and the only way to really capitalize on that was to have all the different tag-ins and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but more the actual system itself, it just didn't work because I think they were trying to go too much into a fighting game when it was just a brawler.
So we have One Piece Burning Blood, which is their second foray. So a developer used to making visual novels is making these action games.
Yep.
And this one, I think it's a little bit, they own the system a little bit better. I wouldn't say that it's the most refined thing on the planet, but you know, it ties a couple of the things that annoyed me about J-Stars and gets rid of them, but still maintains a lot of the fun kind of combo video stuff you can do in the game.
That's it, yeah. It's fun. I just don't think it's still as good as either a Naruto or even a Xenoverse. Xenoverse was broken. There was things not right with that game, but it was still, I'd say, better than this one, just because the system doesn't really work with a lot of broken characters.
And that is probably the biggest problem. So how it works is that you set up your teams. You can technically have up to 9 fighting characters, but you set teams of 3, basically. And they all cost a certain amount of Zenny, and the bounties to use people like Blackbeard, who's pretty broken, and Moria, who's pretty broken, are reasonably low. So it's pretty easy to pick these broken tier characters, and
it tries to use like the Gundam versus kind of point system where, you know, you pick the strong mechs and then you pick like one weak mech. But it doesn't really work because they don't have
enough punishment for it.
Yeah, there's no refinement to it.
Though that said, like as a One Piece fan, it's got the fan service down pat. The actual game is fun itself. Like we spent a lot of time playing it over the weekend. I would still maintain that if you are a One Piece fan, it's probably the best One Piece game in a long time.
Would you say the story's told well?
Well, it's for the little bit that it covers.
Some of us on New Game Plus are super excited to play Championship Edition 2. We all fiended Championship Edition Deluxe to the point that we just spend hours on the weekends just playing Championship 2 map mode and trying to chase all those ghosts to get all the high scores.
I don't think I was that excited about it, but I did enjoy
you will be, Tim.
I did enjoy the first one, and it's probably the best iteration of Pac-Man since, well, the arcades. So,
yeah.
It certainly played well, and I'm looking forward to playing this one as well.
And indeed, like Pac-Man has had a bit of a resurgence recently with Pac-Man Championship Edition. We've also had from the makers of Crossing Road, Pac-Man 256, which a lot of people are playing as well.
Yes, but it's mainly the Championship Edition. Like the sequel coming out, a lot of people will be very excited because it's not just standard Pac-Man. It's all different modes, and you've got all the colors.
So many colors.
Yes,
and I think they've put a ghost mode, like a boss battle, into Pac-Man with this one.
Yeah, some of the modes are hit and miss, but some like other modes will have you playing non-stop.
Sorry, like if you don't like one mode, there's another 50 over here that the game will offer. But what other games do you reckon would best fit this sort of modern treatment?
I'm really not sure. All I want to really see is a new Raiden, but I don't think that fits the bill here.
I wouldn't mind seeing a new Galaga. Or, maybe someone should make a modern version of Frogger, where, you know, just an endless jumping across roads and rivers. Someone should make that.
Yep. I don't get it.
Well played.
Crossy Road jokes.
Well, welcome to All Game Plus. Now, last year there's a lot of stories doing the rounds that Sega were going to pull out of making console games, and we did a segment on it, which is totally not awkward now because for Sonic's 25th anniversary, we have this.
Sega.
So that was the new 3D looking game for Sonic.
Well, they had me at the team behind Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations,
which have been the best two games in the last 5 years that they've released. So,
yes, yeah. And because Sonic has been, we've spoken about this before, it's been hit and miss. But I think there's been the 3D Sonic games have gradually been improving up until the high point there was Sonic Generations. And when they haven't tried to be a Mario game, they've done the 3D bits pretty well.
Yes, they have.
There have been some disasters.
There have been, 2006 Sonic, yes.
Yeah. And the Wii ones weren't too bad, the Black Knight and the Enchanted Rings, even though they were way out of universe with those, and the controls are...
yeah,
that was dumb.
And it's interesting that the public said, no, stop doing 3D, we want 2D games. But when they made, Sonic 4, parts 1 and 2, they stopped part 3 because no one was buying it.
Yeah, and part 3 would have been really good to have too, because Sonic 4 episodes 1 and 2 were great games.
Yeah.
So while everybody was saying, Sonic, we don't like the 3D games, we like the old Sonic 2D games, when they did release really good 2D Sonic games, nobody bought them.
Yeah, because there's a whole heap on the DS and the Game Boy Advance as well that were really good and really faithful to the old, 1, 2, 3 classic ones on the Mega Drive.
This one has Sonic, the old Sonic and the new Sonic.
So a bit more like Zelda.
I think it's great because they did this in Sonic Generations where they had the 2D and 3D.
Yep.
It was a little bit like saying we respect your childhood, we respect what you loved about the old Sonic, but here's the 3D as well, done really well. Movies probably should try that sometime.
As well,
but but they did that superbly in Generations, so I'm really really looking forward
And
to
yeah,
this.
it's only like non-game footage at the moment, but hopefully we see some game footage soon, and it should be good to see.
NX, PS4, PC, Xbox One, welcome back.
So what I'm excited about is they've hired some old ROM hackers that have been working on these older Sonic games, and have made Sonic Mania, which is looking really good. It looks like an old Genesis game.
Exactly, that's kind of my problem though. It looks like an old Genesis game. So did Sonic 4. That looked like a throwback to the old Sonic, but that ended up being hot garbage. And so did like the various other attempts at trying to relive the magic of the 90s Sonic, and I'd even argue that it wasn't really magical back then either. And Gerard is just giving me death daggers off camera.
Yes, he certainly is, but I'm a little bit more optimistic about this, because when developers go to people that are very passionate about what they're doing, and they've proved that they can work on this type of title, this type of game before, I reckon it's going to turn out pretty well.
So they'll at least have an idea of what makes Sonic good, or what people enjoy out of Sonic, because they'll be very much in touch with the community. So we can only see if this game ends up being merely okay, or if it just ends up flopping. You can tell I'm not quite the optimist on this title.
Or it could have just been Sega going to the guys, hey, we can either sue you or you can work for us. Take your choice. Like jail or develop Sonic. I don't know.
Although the rest of the Sonic event was kind of a
that
little
stream.
cringy, just a little, and not the good cringy either, but an actual cringe-worthy.
Yes, so most of the stream that was on Twitch for the anniversary was absolutely terrible. Awful production and just, as you said, cringe-worthy performances on stage.
So it was everything you'd expect from something linked to the Sonic name.
Yes, unfortunately. But that is it for this week. Please visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
Follow our Twitter and Instagram at NewGamePlusTV.
And subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch. We are New Game Plus TV. One word, no spaces.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next week. Go Navi!
Sorry, Gerard.
I don't use you on Twitter.